Good. All right, welcome everyone to the Finance and Performance Committee meeting for October, and welcome to those viewing online, and also welcome Councillor Ash and Councillor Duncan who are attending on Zoom. Could I please ask that we all stand and we'll have the reading of the council prayer.
Almighty God, as members of the Rangitikei District Council, we give thanks for all the good things of our district and the advantages we enjoy. We pray that you will give us wisdom and guidance as we conduct the affairs of this meeting. We pray for all the communities and the district we represent. Help us to be fair and honest in our discussions and help us to work together in unity for the welfare of all your people. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councillor Dalgetty. Now, before we start off, I'd like to also acknowledge we have a new staff member attending this meeting in the room, and Mr. Toombs. I'll ask that you do the introductions, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, morning, committee members. Behind that, Councillor Dave, is Hilary Walker, our new Management and Systems Accountant. We're very fortunate to have her join last week. And still here, so very pleased about that. And has already made a great positive contribution to the team, and very excited to be here, and we're very excited to have her. So, yeah, Hilary Walker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, Hilary, and yeah, great to have you as part of the team. Thank you. All right, I'll call for apologies. I have received none. We have a full attendance. No, we're missing Councillor Panapa. I haven't received an apology from Councillor Panapa, so...
He said he was going to Zoom in.
He was going to, so he may be attending.
Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Lambert as well, Chair.
Yeah, he's not part of this committee, so, yeah. Okay, right, so there have been nil apologies. We'll go to item 3 on the agenda, which is public forum. I haven't been notified of any public forum, so that will not be taking place. We'll move on to item 4. I'd like you all to take note of item 4 on the agenda, conflict of interest declarations. Does any member have any conflict of interest that they'd like to declare now? That's as part of this agenda. Oh, okay, welcome Councillor Panapa, zooming in online now. Okay, there's no declarations of conflict of interest, so I'll just remind you to, if we're dealing with anything on the agenda that you feel you may have a conflict, please raise it at the time. Confirmation of order of business, we'll take that as listed on the agenda. And we will now move to confirmation of minutes, item 6. And we'll run through the order paper page by page. If there are any amendments required, please let me know when we get to that page. Okay, so we're starting off at page 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Yes.
11, yes, Councillor Carter.
9.1.
9.1.
That following project report.
Okay, all right. So the word be changed to that. Thank you, Councillor Carter. That's noted. Right, page 12, 13. And that's the last page. If there are no further amendments other than that wording, Councillor Carter, would you like to move those minutes as a true and correct record? Seconded by Councillor Wilson. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Now, not on the agenda, but we'll take it as 6.2 as my chair's report, which should have been emailed out to members last week. It's also tabled here for reading for those. Did you receive a copy, Peter? Okay, review that.
Thank
Are there any comments from that Chair's report? No? Okay. I'm happy to take that as read. I'm happy to move the acceptance of the Chair's report, seconded by His Worship. All those in favour? Against? Carried, thank you. Right, item 7 on the agenda is the follow-up action items from previous meetings. And you will have all had an opportunity to read through, and if there are any questions of the report, we'll take any questions to start with, or any comments. I'll start off with the first item, where it's signalled that a workshop will be organised for elected members on the use of Smarty Grants, or the training of use of Smarty Grants. That's scheduled for the 11th of November. I think I referred to that in my Chair's report. Councillor Hero, you raised some questions around, I guess it was around the rules or requirements of those grants, and I would expect that we'll deal with those as well during that workshop, rather than just the training on the Smarty Grants use. So if you've got anything specific that you wanted to know, I guess raise it at the workshop would be the ideal time. But if we deal with not just the training of Smarty Grants, but also the requirements within each of those grants, so that we can understand when we're assessing those grants.
It would be useful if anyone had anything specific they wanted covered, to let us know.
To let you know beforehand, so you can provide any in-depth information. Thank you. Councillor Hero.
Are the two other external people going to be part of this?
Yes, they've been invited, and we've had one reply. I'm not sure about Ms. Fannin, whether she's going to be attending or not, but perhaps if we could have a follow-up email to see it, or have you had a response from Ms. Fannin?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, perhaps if we could get a follow-up email to her. Right. Mr. Benedict, yeah.
If I may,
Yes.
through you, Mr. Chairman. Two of the updates on the actions list were too late to appear on your agenda, and I was wondering if I could just do a quick verbal update on those.
Certainly. If there's no further comments or questions on any of the other items, I'll hand over to Mr. Benedict. Councillor Carter.
He may cover them when asked, but
Okay, well, perhaps, yeah, you go through the updates, Arno, and if it's not covered, then we'll take the question from Councillor Carter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, it's the two towards the end of the list. The one is regarding the 600 litres per person. A report did go to the Asset and Infrastructure meeting in October. And so that action is closed off. And the next one is the list of the bridges, and that is included in the Assets and Infrastructure report. List of bridges for the year, so that's closed off as well.
Great.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Arno. Councillor Carter, did that answer your question?
that was regarding the literage. Having done a survey of my own, reading my meter at my gate, managed to use 5,700 odd litres of water over 8 days for 2 people. So that brings it down to about 350 litres per day.
There you go.
Per
Yes.
person.
Yeah, so it's around about what the figure for memory came to. So, yeah, interesting to know. Any questions online? Anyone on Zoom? Nothing there. Councillor Wilson, you looked like you were going to ask a
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So it is on that one as well, but I would note, and certainly to confirm what Mr. Bernardi has said, that both of those items were in the assets agenda, and so therefore they are closed off as far as this. But there was a further action from that. There was some further investigations about some of the losses that were still being followed up. So I'm assuming that is still being followed up as part of assets.
Correct. Yeah.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any further questions on the report? If there are, Your Worship.
Just one, when the current follow-up actions are recorded, the details there, if they've come from a specific request from a councillor, could could we just include where the source of the inquiry came from? I'm just, because I was looking at the insurance one and I was trying to remember exactly, there was something that came up, and the question from one of the councillors or myself was, with regards to this, was it insured? And I can't remember exactly what the event was that raised the question.
Through you, Chair, I think it was damage to an overhead bridge.
The train.
Rings a bell.
Yeah.
So was that dealt with at that meeting? I think some information came back to answer that we weren't involved. It was Kiwi Rail and whoever the instigator was. Yeah. Okay.
But the bigger question remained as to if there is big damage to any of our infrastructure, do we check with the insurance first?
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what that item's relating to. So are we happy
I was
with?
just trying to remember where it arose from.
So as that sits there, we're happy with the work still to be progressed. Mr. Toombs, you're the person assigned to it, to what further information is required.
This is the item at the bottom of page 15.
Yeah, yes, item 15. So.
I believe that was I believe the issue was Councillor Gordon wanted more info on how the deductibles work. The bullet points weren't comprehensive enough, and I sent an email out earlier this week expanding on the bullet points that were included, which I believe addressed that issue.
That's what I understood that item to be about, was more about the savings we were making on identified deductibles, which council have authorised 2 of them, but another 2 were still to be looked at. So the motor vehicle insurance program and then the infrastructure deductible. There was more work to come back in front of the committee around that. Yeah. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you're happy with how that sits? I'll pass to the Chief Executive. You'd like to provide?
I think what His Worship has highlighted, staff are on a wish to ensure that the recommendations that we provide are sufficient enough to be standalone. So we are focusing that the recommendations can be read in isolation of the report, even at the expense of rewriting some text. It needs to be a standalone recommendation. I would like for that discipline to go into the details of the follow-up actions. So when elected members come to in this forum and require a follow-up action or an undertaking, I would wish for us to pause, make sure it's captured absolutely correctly, that the person who brought that to the attention for an action is happy with it, and then we can move on. And that just relies on us just taking some time to pause, if that's okay with you, Mr. Chair. Yeah.
So, in saying that, are we?
It would absolutely address it. It provides a reference point to where the inquiry came from.
So who raised it? Yeah. So are we happy with where that sits at the moment with the discussion around those? It's pretty much those 2 items actually at the bottom of the follow-up actions. Okay, all right. Thank you. Any further questions? No one online. Okay, could I have someone move that the follow-up actions items from the Finance and Performance meeting be received? Councillor Gordon, you're moving that? Yeah, seconded by Councillor Dalgetty. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Okay, reports for decisions, and 8.1 financial snapshot, which is on page 17 of the order paper. And Mr. Toombs, I'll hand over to you.
Okay, I'm happy to take it as read. I might just emphasise 2 points. So on page 18, the list of capital carryovers, as we're going through our financial year end, we have identified 3 or 4 smaller ones that I'll bring to this committee next month, subject to discussions today. Projects that weren't completed last year and would require the budget to be brought forward to this year. And page 27, explanation for one of the operating expense variances, just add some more clarity around that. We talk about, it certainly is a timing difference. This is on the rubbish and recycling variance. It's, the expenses are behind. This is much to do with the contractor not submitting all his invoices yet, as opposed to the volume of each invoice. But it is just a timing difference that will be corrected at the end of the year.
Okay,
So otherwise, happy to take questions.
thank you. Right. So we'll take questions of the report to start with. Councillor Wilson.
Perhaps a question for both Mr. Toombs and Mr. Bernardi. The Hereford Heights intersection, what is still to be completed there?
The intersection, through you, Mr. Chairman, sorry. The intersection has been completed, construction is completed. The only outstanding item would be the footpath on the southern side of Hereford Heights that we will look at, but the rest is completed.
Okay, so subsequent to that, so that has nothing to do with the issue of the bridge clip-on footpath, which was raised at assets.
It's a spin-off from the new intersection, really.
Okay, so one more question, if I may, Chair. So we're signalling here that there's $150,000 carryover to complete that work. Is that work being completed by the original contractor that did the job, or is it being completed by other? Is it separate from the original intersection design, or is it all part of the one job that was let?
Yep, that is a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. And from my perspective, the construction is completed and the budget should be spent. There should be nothing left on that budget. So if I may, I'll just get the detail from the roading team and just ask exactly what that's for. And I can bring that to the next meeting as a reply. Or we can put it in an update, actions update to the next meeting. But I'm not certain why that's the...
Yeah, I'm just seeking a little bit more clarity around that, if that could be just listed as ongoing, that one.
Okay, so we've got it understood as to what's required there. Just looking at staff.
There's a read out what you've written.
Yeah, I've just put it in my notes as an action point that Councillor Wilson queried the carryover for Hereford Heights, and Mr. Kennedy is going to get more information and clarify as he doesn't believe it should be there.
Hereford Heights intersection. Yeah, brilliant, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship.
Yeah, just to note in terms of carryovers, it's probably a hobby horse of mine. Where carryovers occur after the LTP is embedded, it does have financial implications on rates and depreciation schedules. The calculation isn't extraordinary this year compared to other years. And of course, COVID has played its part. But it would be remiss of me not to point it out.
Thank you. Councillor Dalgetty, and then I'll take Councillor Gordon.
My question to Arno, just an update with the Martin Storm Centre roof. And so making sure that I've understood this correctly, that this work wasn't done at the 30th of June. And yeah, where's that at now?
That's through you, Mr. Chairman. That's correct. That work was not completed by the 30th of June, but we made use of that winter break for the swimming pool, and we have repaired the roof completely. So that work's completed. What will follow on now is work we need to do on the gym as part of that project. And that is a lot more challenging as the gym is in operation all the time. But the pool roof has been completed.
So in effect, sorry, Mr. Chair, part of that 100,000 will have been spent by now.
That's
Yeah,
correct, yeah.
Thank you.
I'll take Councillor Gordon next, and then His Worship.
My question really is a big picture one about this whole list. Is this list generated at 1 July? And if so, have a number of these items actually been already completed? Or is this an ongoing running tally of what we've still got to do? Because it might be quite useful if say, let's say fleet, if that had been already completed, but we were reporting back to where we were, that it might have complete or something like that decided in another column.
Yeah, so the figures there are, the carryover is the unspent budget as at 30th of June. Some of the carryovers may have been reduced if we've identified that the projects doesn't need the full allocation that was given last year. And in regards to fleet, yes, officers did proceed on the basis that the budget would be carried forward. I mean, we have bought some of the vehicles. That's a particularly interesting one because, with the fleet, we've ordered things back in March and they don't get delivered till July, August. You can't pay for them last year. So we have taken a bit of a common sense approach to some of these, yeah.
Thank you.
So you're saying that, yeah, I can understand that was a commitment made, but the invoicing didn't happen until this financial year. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it does, thank you.
Yeah. Councillor Duncan, online.
Thank you. I just wonder in that case, because I was confused about that as well, if at the top where it says type carryover 2021/22 budget, should that not read 2020/21 budget if it stops at the 30th of June?
My understanding in reading that report is what we've set in this year's first year of the LTP, the 21/22 budget, that centre column. The carryover was from the 2021, the unspent budget, to still follow through with those committed projects. Is that correct? Yeah. Does that make sense, Councillor Duncan?
Yes, it will going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Your Worship.
Thanks. With regard to the fleet, question to the Head of Fiscal Matters. With regards to fleet, is that all CapEx or is that an operational expense as well? And it's all, so that's all CapEx. So essentially these are new vehicles. So in light of
They're replacement vehicles.
the replacement vehicles, I wasn't totally sure whether the vehicles were regarded as CapEx. Okay, that answers that question. But essentially 280k is probably 8 to 10 vehicles.
Oh, I'd rather check that, but that really is looking at 18 months worth of spend minimum as opposed to 12 months, yeah.
I was just interested in the operational versus CapEx position on fleet vehicles. That's all.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
No, if there's no questions, I would just like to respond to the Mayor's queries about carryovers at some stage.
Okay. Councillor Dalgety, did you have another specific question?
I'm just interested to get a quick overview is what's the technology upgrades?
I'd have to get back to you on that. I mean, with the technology we have, we're always getting these software programs, servers, yes, our IT infrastructure. It's critical that we keep up to date with it all.
Thank you.
Councillor Ash, online, you have a question?
Yeah, Tana, thank you. Just a quick clarification, please, once again, around the fleet. Is that the net cost after the trade-ins, or is that the cost of the vehicles without taking into account trade-in costs?
Again, I'll double check, but I'm fairly sure that is just the expense of the acquisitions as opposed to any trading credits that would be appropriate. Yeah, so we might need to look at that and come back next month with an increased trading budget line as well.
Okay. Will that answer your question, Councillor Ash?
So sorry.
Yeah.
Is that an undertaking, yes or no?
Yes, yeah, I'll confirm.
Make sure that Ash has got exactly what you want.
Yeah, now.
Yes.
No, but I was interested in the definition within this list around what is operational and CapEx. For instance, the fleet one, I wasn't sure, but I had presumed that the technology upgrades, the laptops, computers, enterprise solutions would be really an operational expense. I can't see them going on each individual thing going onto our asset manager.
Well, we have a very low capitalisation threshold, about $1,000 or something, very small, maybe 2,000.
Is that normal to be at that level?
It's what we've had for. Each organisation will be different. You could argue it should be higher, for sure.
That's what I would have thought. I would have thought keeping an asset register of computer programming, for instance.
Yeah, if I may, regardless of whether we'd capitalise this equipment, it would be seen as portable and attractive. So we'll still go onto a register to make sure we know where all our devices are and phones are. So regardless of whether it's capitalised, there will be a register for our IT equipment.
Yeah, the write-off period in terms of that capitalisation must be like
nowadays 3 years, 4 years, right?
Yeah, I leave that to the operational staff to figure out. I'm just surprised.
Yeah, I can understand your comment though around having to list, and that would be for insurance purposes as well, having to list.
And for the governance, yes.
Is that restrictive? Do you see that there's any need to alter that value?
No.
No. Okay.
In terms of priorities, it's not on the top of the list. Sure.
Presumably, in terms of CapEx work, we loan fund. There must be a limit that you place around loan funding. For instance, this stuff wouldn't be loan funded.
No, most of this is replacement stuff,
Yeah,
so it'll be depreciation funded, yeah.
I just wonder whether we should regard CapEx as an item that we loan fund over time. The rats and mice are out of this.
Yeah. If we have to go to big servers, actually, if I just expand on your point, one of the issues here is going to be when organisations such as ours go from having servers to going on the cloud, because then you go from having an asset looking after your IT to it being a pure OPEX.
Yeah.
So that is something that's going to hit us in the next few years. And that's how we manage that.
That's a whole other piece of work, I think, that will require quite an extensive conversation.
Yeah, I don't think there's any action required from here. I leave it to brighter people than I am.
Okay.
Do you want to comment on the carryovers?
Sorry, yes, yeah. We'll take your comment next. There's no further questions. Someone else online? Who has a hand raised? Councillor Ash.
Thank you. Yeah, just one further question. Wondering how far along we are with the Mungaweka Bridge toilets. Obviously, we've suggested that these are going to be close to $500,000 worth of toilet. Wondering, is that design been done on that, and can we pull back on that? It just seems quite an excessive amount given the building of it hasn't started, and I don't know that I've seen a design on it. It just seems quite a lot to put on our ratepayers when we've got so many other things happening.
It's probably under the Assets and Infrastructure Committee to report on that, but do you want to provide any sort of comment, perhaps Mr. Benedy, in regards to that? Otherwise, I'm happy to shift that question for Assets and Infrastructure.
Well, I think Council have resolved for us to spend that budget.
Correct.
If you wish to change that decision, then that's up to you as chair.
Correct.
I'm not having staff comment other than we're delivering the project.
That's fine.
Absolutely right answer.
Councillor Ash, did you hear that comment from the Chief Executive?
Yes, I did.
So Council has already made that decision on the budget spend, and it's not appropriate to raise that matter now to try and change the plans of something to reduce the cost when Council has already made that decision.
Is there a process that could actually be revisited?
Sorry, I'll hand over to Mrs. Gordon.
It would have to come through as a notice of motion, councillor Ash, to a council meeting, because that's where the decision was made.
Thank you.
No.
Okay, right, thank you. Mr. Toombs, so you would like to make comment on the carryovers?
Yes, so there's been a bit of discussion around carryovers and depreciation and how it's all funded, and just conscious that not everyone will have the background of unnecessarily understanding how all these numbers work. So if it's okay, I'll just drafted 3 points just to hopefully summarise this so there's no misinformation out there. Not saying there is, but just in case there is.
Thank you.
So sort of financial impact of owning carryovers, if I may be allowed to read this. So if a council's got a budgeted capital spend in a particular year, which we all do, when we prepare the following year's budget, we assume that year one spend will be spent. So therefore depreciation's at a certain level, interest costs at a certain level, and we rate to recoup them costs. So when we don't ultimately have that capex in year one, we've rated for expenses we're not going to be incurring, which is, I think, the mayor's point, and that's a very valid observation. However, in our instance, where a council's got an underlying operating deficit, which we have, which is shown on page 143 of our long-term plan, that's mainly caused by depreciation increases, then you can argue that maintaining the level of rating that you proposed is actually being necessary to address the catch-up that's required. Because we do have an operating deficit to recoup, and if we have rated at a certain level and the costs don't match that level, then we are taking steps to address the deficit.
Okay, thank you. Your Worship, you're not commenting, so were they that's pretty much the bullet points in the explanation you wanted to provide? Okay. Thank you. Any further questions of the financial snapshot? Just had comment on a couple of items on the actual chart or reports, page 20 under whole of council, and it follows through in a lot of the other reports where we show our variances, and there's a number of figures with zero actual spend, zero budget, and zero variance, and yet it shows us 100% variance on some, but then zero variance on others, and I just wanted to know why that shows there's 100% variance.
I'd be guessing, if I may, that because these are all in round thousands. So for example, on page 20, the other comprehensive, in real dollars, there might be a $50 number in there, which
had no budget.
Yeah, so therefore you get a minus 100%, whereas internal charge and recoveries, if they are all zeros, then it will be zero.
Yeah, okay. You can understand that if someone's reading this report that there's 100% variance and yet there's a $0 figure, it just makes it a little bit confusing.
It will be rounding differences. Yeah.
Whether that is that just a I guess software issue that can't be can't be altered to read zero. I mean, if there's a zero budget, zero spend.
I'll be able to manually change these. Well, Henry Walker, now she's on board, will be able to manually change these figures. So if there's 0, 0, 0,
it just makes it more readable. You know, it makes it confusing when some have a zero variance, but some actually have 100%.
That's an easy.
That's a bit of a
that's okay.
Finicky thing, but yeah, just noticed that throughout the report.
Yeah, it's all good.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, we'll start off with recommendation 1 then, that the Finance Performance Committee receive the report financial snapshots for September 2021. I have someone move the reception. Thank you, Councillor Carter, seconded by Councillor Hero. All those in favour? Against? Carried, thank you. And recommendation 2, that the Finance Performance Committee recommend to Council the carrying over from 2020-21, the list of projects included in this report, and the 2021-22 budgets are amended accordingly. Councillor Dalgety, you're moving that, seconded by Councillor Hero. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Right, that brings to conclusion item 8 on the agenda. We'll move on to item 9, which is the quarterly property sales, starting on page 30 of the order paper. And Mr. Toombs, would you like to provide commentary around this?
I'll take it as read. Just so we've added a bit more narrative in the cover paper now, which does explain the key statistical anomaly that appears on page, it's page 34, is it page 33? Bearing in mind stats being stats, there's various things that can have a distorting impact on them, but
Yes.
take it as read.
Thank you. Any questions of the report or comments? Yes. Your worship.
Just a comment. When I read this report, I put it against my column ... exclamation mark, just reflecting the dramatic sales lift. I mean, this valuation is not long out of date. It's a recent revaluation of the district that this is paired against. And when you get 40% sales above QV for a recent revaluation, that is dramatic.
So a year old, the valuation will be that 1st of September last year.
Yeah, but it's
But yeah,
a
not-
relatively short time frame.
Yes, certainly within the, right across the district. But when you look at the sales within, say, Martin Urban, for instance, that's a pretty good reflection when you're sitting at 48% above regular valuation. It's a pretty good reflection of the demand within our district. And certainly valuable information and pleasing to have this in front of this committee to provide us an idea of what's happening throughout the district. Yes, Mr. Toombs.
Yeah, you'll probably be aware that normally we have another report comes to each monthly committee meeting, the QV sales for the month. We don't get that report till the 21st, 22nd of the month, so it's always a rush to get onto the agenda. Right. So the one for last month and we'll come to next month, we are going to ask the suppliers if they can get it to us quicker. Okay. But just to let you all know, there might be a month's delay in getting it to this committee.
Appreciate that. I'll take Councillor Gordon first and then your worship.
Page 31, total sales by rating group. There's three items in there: pastoral, forestry and lifestyle. They are more extensive than the commercial and residential. So my question is, does a less granular form of reporting come through the system, i.e. price per hectare or price per property? Because this just gives us a chunk that says $14 million has been spent on pastoral, but it's from a qualitative point of view, it'd be interesting to see whether the price per hectare is going up and down. That's sort of, it's more finer detail, and it's probably not core business for us, but if that was available in the reporting, it would be an interesting number to have, because I think it would reflect what's happening outside the door of this organisation.
I'd have to ask Mr. Toombs whether that information is provided in the amount we go in the figures that generate this report.
Whether it's provided or whether it's available, I'd have to go offline and come back. So that'd have to be an action that I'll check with Ash.
Look, it's not a major action. If it was sitting there and available, that'd be great, but I wouldn't expect staff to go and do a whole heap of work just to change a number. It's just a reporting.
So if available, please include, basically.
Yeah, that would be nice, but...
Okay.
We'll just wait while we ensure that we've got the correct...
Because Mike, if I may, Mr. Chair, some of the things that are happening in the pastoral sales market at the moment are a little bit scary in terms of who's paying what for what and what are the drivers. And I think carbon farming has been a major driver. And I've seen some pretty scary numbers quoted lately. I don't know whether those are kosher or not, but...
If that information is easily available, yeah,
that's fine. It's not
happy to see that in the report, but if there's a bit of work involved, we would reassess it. Sorry, Your Worship, you had the next question.
I think I know the answer to this one, but I'm not 100% sure. So a property comes up for sale and that property is worth, say, $500,000. Then it's put on the market and it sells for $1 million. We get advised of the sale and we get advised of the sale price, but we continue to rate at the QV value, or don't we? We don't plug back in the sale price.
Until the next round of valuations.
Until the next round of valuations.
Correct.
But if the property has deemed to have been changed in use and there's been construction, etc., that goes on to it, we still have to wait for a QV round to pick it up.
I'm not sure on that. I'd have to. Councillor Dalgety, you, with your experience.
Answer that. So basically, the building consent goes through to QV, and that initiates
The change from then.
the change from then. Now that new valuation, my understanding would go into the existing rate pool.
Yeah.
Not wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you're correct. Yeah, that's as I understand it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a change. That's under a consenting type process,
Yeah.
but a sale process
Yeah,
doesn't kick
right.
in until the QV revaluation.
So if somebody's building, for instance, a new factory, it can effectively be the end of the time of complete sign-off. The consents could be, a couple of years before it gets reflected in a valuation change.
I wonder if that could be influenced. If we could have significant build, could you not say to QV, hey, this is a really important job for us. Can this be prioritised?
Yeah, that's certainly an internal process, and perhaps that's something that on a significant build, that could be a conversation.
Well, there may well be milestones in terms of consenting process, but
Yeah. Councillor Gordon.
So through you, Mr. Chair, just going on with the same conversation, is this an issue that local government, New Zealand, or, I think that's probably the appropriate body should be taking to QV or central government and saying, look, we have these massive changes happening and yet we operate in these 3-year time gaps. We have, and the Three Waters issue is a classic, if we have a big subdivision, we've got all this pressure, suddenly we're 3 years behind the 8 ball in terms of funding, even though we can debt fund. There's a conversation that should be had, surely, about the ability to almost update things in real time. If the consent goes through or I buy the property today, that should almost enter the register. We're not dealing with big piles of paper anymore. Surely it's all electronic.
My understanding is that it's this council that actually initiates the revaluation process, and I'm not sure whether it's under legislation, whether it has to be done in that 3-year time space, and I guess it could be something that could be asked if we were prepared to spend the money on a revaluation process on a more frequent basis. Is that something we would be prepared to do? Because there must be a certain significant amount of cost to it.
For sure, like at Auckland, is it? I'm scratching to think it's basically done annually.
Yeah. So it's a council.
Sorry.
I believe it would be a council decision.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further questions online? Councillor Duncan.
you're on
Councillor
mute.
Duncan, you're on mute. We still can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're away.
Right. Oh, sorry. This brings back the discussions we had around the large jump with the QV rating last time and the impact it had on rates. And I recall that we discussed then that the 3-year, when it's going up so hugely, is actually causes quite a shock. So I would like to reinforce what you've just been discussing and ask that, if possible, that staff do look into that for our council, or I'd like to support that action.
So, okay, what sort of work would be involved in finding out, I guess, initially the cost of carrying out a valuation, a QV valuation across the district? You know, that would be the first question to ask. Is that difficult to find that out and bring it back to this committee?
The cost we have to pay the external people is one thing. The staff cost obviously is another. Staff time and no, I can certainly get the external costs.
Are you prepared to provide some information to this committee so we can make a decision based around that information provided?
Sure. Are we talking annually or every second year?
What you're asking, Councillor Duncan, is what a QV valuation process entails and the costs involved.
Yes, basically, I mean, it sounds like yearly would be ideal, but that might be more than we need. So maybe biannually would be better. But yes, if there could be some investigation, that would be great. Thank you.
Would that have to be a recommendation coming from this committee? I'll have to seek guidance on that. Yeah. Your Worship.
Yeah, I'm just warning to be a little bit careful around this because it ties into our LTP and annual plan processes as well. Yeah. So there'll be implications wider than purely the cost of doing so. The councillor has the right to ask, but I just bear in mind that there are some wider implications other than pure cost.
Okay. Councillor Duncan, what would you like to see to help you inform your decision on this? Would you like the staff to come back with perhaps some costings initially and to create a further discussion?
Yes, please, that would be great.
Some basic costings really, rather than a full in-depth report on providing an annual QV valuation.
Can I just illustrate my thinking a little bit more here? So if you have a revaluation of the district, that then significantly changes the rating position. In an annual plan year, you could be forced, for instance, into a special consultative procedure, like the equivalent of full LTP. They're expensive beasts. So and that's my warning, in effect, that it's not just the costs of the revaluation. There are all sorts of flow-on effects that could be gained.
Okay, I'll take further comment before we come out with a decision here.
I think his worship's comments are really valid. I think from a governance point of view, it would be good if we had a register of these sort of costs that said a QV valuation process cost X and our and then that feeds into internal costs of Y, so that we can have these, you know, which ends up at the bottom line of whatever the bottom line is, so that we can just have these open discussions and say, well, you know, perhaps we should go to 2 yearly, but gosh, here's the cost, guys. Is it really worth it? Or do we stick with the 3 yearly process, given that it doesn't affect an LTP type discussion? I mean, they're all quite valid, big picture discussion points, but so we can just make an informed decision.
You've got a comment?
I think Mrs. Gordon might be able to illustrate this probably better than I do, but the moment you go into an LTP type position, it's not only the LTP costs of consultation, but it's the audit associated with that. So you're looking at very, very substantial dollars.
Yes.
Hundreds.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
So, yeah,
To each sort.
I understand that the implications could throw out the LTP that is struck for the 3-year period quite dramatically, which, again, that's your point. Turns it into a
change
huge
relative
beast.
rating positions, you're likely to be in that space.
Do you, yeah. Does that provide you with some more information, Councillor Duncan?
Yes, thank you. Yes. So what that discussion has just displayed to me is cost benefit. And so if the cost of it's too much compared to the benefit, then it's not worth doing it. That's absolutely fine. But I just needed to listen to that discussion. And if Mr. Toombs is, would back that up, that's absolutely fine. Thank you.
I mean, right at this time, I don't think anyone around this table knows the actual cost involved in carrying out a QV process. If there was some pretty simplistic information that could be provided to this committee without going into a huge amount of effort, we've got a bill that we pay QV, obviously, we'll know that. We'll have an idea of staff time involved, if we can be provided with that as an information piece more than anything. So I don't want a huge amount of work put into it.
Just following on from some of the comments that have been made, that it's quite possible in that process of me providing that info that I'm not going to give you the full picture. I can certainly get the QB costs. I can certainly come up with an approximation of what my finance team will have to spend to get that information into the system. But what I'm not going to be able to give you is the potential impact that could have on long-term plans and the need to go back to the community.
I think, we certainly understand that. It's more a point of getting that basic information, and that discussion can be based around what that could trigger. If that was done, what it could trigger, and if it triggers an LTP process, then that's what we take into account.
Okay.
So it's a basic sort of pure cost. Yeah.
I need to be aware of the Rating Act itself. So I just asked a question around the Rating Act because we're driven by that as well.
Is there a recommendation on undertaking?
Rather than a recommendation, I think an undertaking. Yeah, we don't want a recommendation. Otherwise, I think we're going to kick in a full report process.
So maybe you could articulate to Ash what you'd like us to provide.
Okay, so it would be provision of costs involved around QV revaluation of the district. So there must be a 3-yearly. We will have had a recent one, and what was the last revaluation?
September.
Yeah.
But they're still working on our district, as I say, around those building consents and all the other things in between. So it's not just...
That's the consenting side, but it's the revaluation of existing property side. Yeah.
So I'll just get you to repeat what... Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, I got halfway through that.
I just want to make sure we get this right, because this is a lot of work for staff.
Yeah.
I sort of summarise that into a comment. Can you please read it?
If I could ask you to insert the word direct before costs, please. So that is the cost, that's the amount we'll pay QV.
Yeah.
I've got a process question to ask around this.
Yes.
So here you have one councillor asking for a body of work to be undertaken. You're sitting in a committee of council. If council as a committee sees that work being justified, then that's fine. But if the body of councillors in the meeting says, sorry, we don't agree that this is an undertaking that needs to be taken by this committee or by council, then that should surely hold the sway. So before you undertake an undertaking to do work, then it needs to have the support of the committee to undertake it.
So the process would be
each individual councillor can have a wish list for miles.
The process then would be a recommendation would have to be put. So Councillor Duncan, you will be required to put this as a recommendation rather than an undertaking to see if you get full support from this committee.
Does that make sense?
Councillor Duncan, you're on mute at the moment, sorry. Can you unmute, please?
So the process is now that it has to be a recommendation to be voted on by the committee, and then it can go forward.
Correct.
If it's, okay, fine. All right, I'd like to recommend that that the staff investigate the costs of re-evaluation of QV on an annual and a biannual as a comparison basis for this committee.
We have an undertaking that is written out there. Perhaps if I read that out to you, Councillor.
That'd be great, thank you.
Okay, so after discussion, we did have an undertaking which would be required to be put as a recommendation, and that reads, staff to investigate the direct costs around a QV revaluation of the district if it was completed on a more regular basis than the 3-year cycle.
Yes, I'd like to move that, thank you.
Okay, we require a seconder. Councillor Gordon, seconding. Right. Councillor Duncan, you get the opportunity to speak first as it's your recommendation.
I don't think there's any need, thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion for or against the motion? Right. Councillor Dalgetty and then Councillor Herald.
I'm against this motion. I believe we're a little council, and I think the costs will be prohibitive. And if we look around the majority of other councils throughout New Zealand, they rock with the 3-year cycle. The issue, we're not saying that the system is perfect, and it is at times incredibly frustrating, but it is the best that we've got at the moment.
Councillor Herald.
I'm not speaking for or against it. What I'm sorry, I hadn't had an opportunity to put my hand up. What I wanted to say, am I able to say what I want to say?
Yes.
What I wanted to say is that I wanted to support the kaupapa of what Councillor Gordon spoke about, where you can talk about something that doesn't necessarily mean then everybody jumps in and we're going to make a recommendation about something. So the discussion has been really good, and irrelevant of, it doesn't even matter if we're talking about this or anything else. But in my mind, it's like we can still have discussion. That doesn't mean to say that we then suddenly hit straight into a recommendation, because it's just something that's only just landed on the table right now. So I probably would. But in saying that, I'll be voting against it. I don't believe that.
Your Worship.
Look, I'm going to vote against this. What you'll end up with doing, if you get into an annual or even a biannual, you'll get a waxing and waning of property values, and you get an incredible amount of work, because that would be required to go through these processes, but you also don't get any consistency across an LTP. I just see it as not something that a small council would be involved in, to be honest.
We have a question online. Councillor Ash. Oh, sorry, not a question. You are speaking for or against the motion?
Speaking for the motion, I don't think there's any harm in actually investigating what the cost and process would be in doing just looking at it, and that's what the resolution is for, is to actually just investigate annual or biannual operation, and we don't know what the answer to that is until that investigation is carried out.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be speaking against it, regardless of whatever an investigation of costs may come out. I cannot see any value at the end analysis if you came up with that information. If you came up with the information said it was going to cost you $100,000 to do it in 1 year, and it was going to cost you $150,000 because they cut you a deal to do it on every second year, I still can't see where the value of that actually comes to the ratepayers of the Rangitikei in being shown as, you know, a good value return on that investigation. I can't see it. So I don't see any need to go down that line, so I'm speaking against.
Right, we've had 3 speakers against and 2 speakers for the motion. Do I have any further speakers for the motion? Otherwise I'll put it, well, sorry, I'll go back to the right of reply. Okay, I'll
Yes,
go back to the right of reply, Councillor Duncan.
thank you, Chair. Yes, thank you. I just want to say that it interests me that we had a discussion where no one knew the answers, but we're now not prepared to actually investigate what the answers might be. So that's why I'd like to say that I think the more information we have, the better decisions we can make. That's my right of reply. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Duncan. Right, I will now put it to the vote. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3. Those against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, the recommendation is lost. Thank you for your discussions and input. Okay, where are we at? We are dealing with the quarterly property sales still. And are there any further questions or discussion on this report? If not, I'll get someone to move that the quarterly property sales be received. Councillor Hero, seconded Councillor Gordon. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. That is the last item on our order paper. So thank you all very much for your attendance at this meeting. Thank you those viewing online, and thank you councillors who are attending by Zoom. We'll call the meeting closed at 10:32.
And just a reminder that we will have a councillor-only session for those online.
Those online, we're having a councillor-only session starting at 12:30.
I'll send another link.
There'll be another link sent out. There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
11.